nation. Now imagine what life will be like if you are living in constant fear of who is, when, where, and how an enemy will strike. You live life knowing anyone around you could be a raider, a military unit member, or a bandit seeking to kill you and take your belongings. Such has been the life of the Kenyans in the North Rift, the Samburu, Pokot, and Turkana communities. This, however, is slowly becoming a game of the past, thanks to the peacekeeping efforts. Now, TV47's team traveled to the North Rift to establish just how much the peace efforts have so far achieved, and now presents to you the Kapedo Peace Files. Take a look.
In 2012, at least 42 police officers and reservists perished during security operations in the Seguta Valley, now infamously known as the Valley of Death, near the Kapedo Bridge. This is the Kapedo Bridge. It is considered the country's deadliest bridge, but the narrative has since changed. So TV47 took a one-week tour to the North Rift region of this country to take a look at what are some of the peace processes that are ongoing and to establish whether they have made or yielded any form of fruit. And coming back, I come back with a letter to the government from the people of Kapedo. Dance of Victory. This dance follows a long day of peace negotiations between two warring communities, the Pokot and the Turkana. The Kapedo Triangle, once synonymous with violence and unrest, now clings to a fragile hope for transition. Linking the border of Baringo and Turkana counties, this area has seen a remarkable reduction in insecurity over recent years. The residents of Kapedo have lived under the shadow of insecurity, with cattle rustling and inter-community conflicts being their norm. Today, their story is different.
One of the political leaders told me, if you really want to talk about peace, go to Kapedo and come back alive. I will gift you.
Peace meetings like these have been crucial. The government, local leaders, and international peace missions have facilitated dialogue and reconciliation among the warring communities. Disarmament programs and increased police presence have also played a vital role in restoring peace.
Ndani ya msitu watu wanakaa peke yao. So shida moja ni kwamba ni serikali kuangalia maneno hii na kuweka kwa mpango. Iwe ni strategy ambayo ni tofauti na sehemu zingine. Ndio itamaliza hii maneno, lakini sasa watu wakiachwa tu peke yao. Alafu naambiwa mkae kwa amani.
People have also been affected by this conflict over time. Trauma healing, reconstruction, rebuilding trust, and even livelihood reconstruction, because people have lost all. If you are raided and you lose all your livelihood, the only option you have is somebody has to lift you up.
Sisi tunataka amani. Sasa kila siku Pokot anakuja kuchokoza sisi. Sisi tunakaa tu pamoja.
Na mambo yetu ni nyari atanyamaniche.
Wakati mtu anauliwa hakuna hata mwenye anakula mwingine.
Toto na je tomorai. Na meka nzuri.
Mangoroko wote wenye wako msituni wakuja wote ili tuwe watu pamoja.
For years, community clashes, cattle rustling, and attacks on security forces have been the order of the day. Peace has been an elusive goal for every government. Well, the people of the North Rift have had enough. Let us take you back to some distressing stories of attacks and the government's intervention to quell the unrest. On our first day in Kapedo, we met 21-year-old Caleb Lomada and 23-year-old Musa Makal. They are former bandits and now students at GOtv Vocational Training College.
Hata mimi nishapeleka mwenye alipikwa na risasi mpaka akakufia mikono yangu, mimi nikaacha nikachukua bunduki na nikaenda.
Kitambo ilikuwa inachukuliwa mtu mwenye amesoma inachukuliwa kama si mwanaume, lakini sasa wameanza kujua sasa.
They share their stories of deadly raids and the chilling moments they encountered as bandits that forced them to turn over a new leaf.
Nikifikiria tu ule jamaa mwenye aliuliwa brother yangu, hapo sasa ndio akili yangu nasikia tena kuua mtu, lakini ile tu Mungu alikuwa anakataa ni mtu.
Ndio tupate hiyo maoni ya hiyo vita ishe, ni kuleta tu hao vijana marafiki zangu shule, kwa sababu hao sasa ndio wanatusumbua tu.
Approximately 2 hours drive from Marigat and deep in the bush lies Kagir. On our way, we stopped by the Moinonin area. 2 months ago, residents of Kagir had pitched a tent here as IDPs. There was an IDP camp that had hosted about 3 months ago, had hosted, some of the villagers of Kagir, where we are at right now. We've driven all the way right inside the bush. But right inside the bush, it's a home for very many people. They had fled this place a couple of months ago because of the insecurities they are in. But then again, it's a beautiful story to hear that they are back home and they are confident that finally security is here. They are confident that finally they get to enjoy peace. And so I'm seated with the ladies who had gathered here to just tell us this experience and the story behind this.
Wakaanza sasa kuua watu. Hakuna hata njia ya kupitia. Kila mahali tu nao wakora wanatembea kila mahali na mabunduki na ng'ombe yao.
Kuja pukuta akakuja kupukusa sisi, akakuja kudisha ng'ombe yake hata mlima, hata nyasi yote kila kitu akachukua.
Iko kwa kambi sasa. Bado manyumba yamepomea yote.
The bandit attacks forced thousands of families, particularly women and children, to flee their homes and seek refuge in the Moinonin IDP camp.
Tulikuja wote mpaka kitenda mimba wote, kila mtu.
Rebecca Chipsergon attends to her husband's grave. She returns home time and again to do so as she checks on her house.
Yake tu imebaki. Naona hii pimbo yake, imebaki tu peke yake. Hii pimbo yake imebaki. Na hiyo kalabasha kakonga hiyo. Unapaswa. Sasa kitanda yangu ilikuwa hapa na hiyo kitanda ilikuwa mpya sana. Wakang'oa wacha hii ya mzee. Mahali tuko sasa ni kaburi yake. Mahali mzee alipumzisha wakati wakora waliua yeye.
Her husband, Joseph Kibet, the Kagir Primary School head teacher, was killed by bandits on February 10, 2024. Despite being visually impaired, he was a committed and result-oriented educator.
Ye ilikuwa mambo yote kwa nyumbani. Hata watoto yetu kuenda shule ni yeye.
Wa serikali kwa sababu kama ngetisha na kuna madio, kuna machips. Sasa hapo ndio wako nguvu kuliko mambo yote. Unamsema nasemekana Mungu namba 2 ni nani? Ni serikali.
She recounts the events of that fateful day.
Sasa kumbe hii wakora wenye wako nyuma wakaweka risasi nyuma hapa. Sasa yeye akaanguka chini. Wakati alianguka chini, mimi nikawachana na yeye, nikaanza mbio. Hata mimi nikatoroka.
They were headed to an annual general meeting at Kipchere Secondary School when the bandits struck.
Watoto yangu wamesoma huko pale, wanaendelea na shule. Usuri ni wakati niliomba shule nikapewa. Kila mtu asema nimeona kwa TV hiyo mwalimu, hiyo huruma tu tunahurumia yeye, wacha watoto wakuje shule.
Since her husband's death, life has never been the same.
Na nilikuwa tajiri, nilikuwa na mbuzi, nilikuwa na ng'ombe, ikaenda yote. Sasa hiyo nilikuwa tunauza kama ni senge 10, mtoto ameenda shule. Nilitaka nikule mbuzi, nasikia leo tunataka tukule nyama, mzee anasema muende muangalie boma. Mtoi mbuzi ile mnatosha nyinyi.
Rebecca takes us around her semi-permanent house, perhaps the only home standing in the neighborhood after bandits demolished houses, stealing cattle and property. A spirit of tension hovers around. The villagers seem timid, uncertain of what will happen next.
Sai bado tunaokopa. Sai atusunga hata hapa kwa sababu bado tunaokopa.
But beneath this timidness lies mixed feelings of rage to fight back and the desire to end the long-standing war between the Pokot and the Turkana.
Hatuna OP hata moja kwa huko polisi. Hatuna.
Kila mtoto ya area hii akiona tu hiyo mtu anasema tu ni kuua. Hata kama nataka usalamia nasema tu ni kuua, hata kama ni mzuri.
Meters away from the tents is Kagir Primary School. The students look sad but hopeful of recovering the lost time after a long break. There are consistent meetings held by villagers with the hope of addressing their underlying concerns and achieving a lasting peace.
The government has a scheme, one, to compensate people, two, to rehabilitate.
Silaha mingi ikikuwa katika community hakuna amani. Kwa hivyo tungeomba serikali tu waangalie, wachukue hii maneno ya mabunduki.
Once developments, roads come in, energy and water comes in, people will gradually start adapting that there is other ways by which people can live.
This is day 3 of our visit. We have driven past the once declared most dangerous Kapedo Bridge and the deadly Siguta Valley. What we find here is a masterpiece. Under the heavens, the flowing water, the waves gently crashing, creating a soothing sound. My colleagues dive into the waters, which I am told are a combination of both hot and cold temperatures that never get to mix. The wonders of Mother Nature. The green scenery is to die for, and the birds sing, signaling that we are marching into peaceful grounds. Not far from here, we are having a lunch before these Turkana and Pokot gentlemen return to the peace talks that have been ongoing for a week. Most are seated on their ekchorus. I've noticed almost all the men are carrying this small thing, and I wanted to understand just what it is. Ekchoro is what they call it. Ekchoro is a small seat that most of the men will move around with, that once they perhaps get into the fields, into the bush, then they would sit on.
Kuna wale ambaye ni expert, wanajua kushonga hii, ndio wengine pia wanahusia, wengine pia wana try, wanafunza wale wengine.
These traditional seats are strictly for the men, as are the peace talks at this stage. The women and children, who are mostly vulnerable, will be invited in the last stages.
So women, they are the ones suffering. Elders, children, women, they are the sufferers. Those who are killing them, they are these youth whom we have invited for this meeting. Those are we don't have a factory at the Turkana Pokot. Do we have a factory for guns and bullets? It is the government who has those factories. It is the government who purchases those guns.
Lakini sasa hatuwezi sema mchenga ni ya nani ama ni ya nani, kwa sababu sisi zamani wakati tulisaliwa hapa tukapata Wapokot na Waturkana wanaishi pamoja.
Despite ego fights and finger pointing, the men who have come from far and beyond are determined to end this war.
Afadhali tukue ya amani, hapo sasa mbuzi yakaela safari moja akule nyasi.
Benson Lukwa, once a bandit, is now a Kenyan police reservist. His commitment is to all communities, despite being a Turkana from Kamuge.
Mimi ni KPR. Bado nachunga tu wananchi wote. Sioni kama nachunga Pokot ama Waturkana, nachunga tu wote. Wote ni wa Kenya.
The Kenya Police Reserve KPR was formed in 1948 to assist the regular Kenya Police in maintaining law and order, mostly in rural areas of Kenya. Successful talks culminated in a night of dance. Here, the best dancer wins the best woman. The Pokot men will spend their night in Turkana East constituency to consummate their peace agreement. Our final drive takes us to Baragoi. It is Friday. It has been a long safari past Tangul Bay to Mararal. Approximately 3.5 hours later, we reach our destination at 10 p.m. Word has it that there was a raid in Gilai sublocation that night. Chills ran down our spines. We managed to find a place to sleep, gathering more details the next day.
Well, the next time I'm going to come here, I'll carry some marbles for the oldies. This is Ngelai village in Baragoi. One of the reasons why we came here is because we had let reports where one gentleman or one man who was herding his goat was actually captured somewhere in the bush by bandits, and therefore we just came up to follow up, or we came here to follow up on what really played out in relation to that. And of course we'll be speaking to the elders here. But before then, there's some beautiful thing that I noticed here. It is about the game. What game inaitwaje? Ndotoi. The elderly are engaging in some nice ni karata tu, sindio?
Yeah, ni karata tu.
Yeah, kucheza. Okay, well, they're playing their games. I do not understand. I think I need to learn some bit as to what then this game is all about.
We visit Mzele Purke Leshoi's homestead. He is not in, but we find his wife Antonella Leshoyi, who's a minor, his kids, and Goreya, the mother. She is deeply saddened, tears rolling down her cheeks. The son, who is out recording a statement with the police, encountered bandits who stole 100 of his goats.
Msuri kumuua huyo hada, walishukua alafu akashukua mpaka certain distance, wakamuachilia harudi, wakaenda na mbuzi.
The area chief, John Lesoloya, confirms the incident but appreciates the tremendous efforts to address insecurities in Baragoi. While all that remains are the goat kids jumping around and a huge empty space where the stolen goats once called home, Senior Chief Lesoloya is relieved that the four took.
Sasa polisi wameelekea huko na administration officers na NPR, na tunatumai hizo mbuzi itarudi. Kwa sasa tumekuwa na utulivu, hatujakuwa na any incidents mingi kama vile ilikuwa hapo mbeleni.
Ukilinganisha mtu na mali, nafikiri mwenye thamani ni nani? Ni binadamu. Na ndio sasa wengine jana walikuwa nasema hai, afadhali sana, tunashukuru hata wao hizi waliwachilia hii msee.
Thomas Lemero, former chief of Baragoi town, recounts the grim and violent days since 1996.
Madam, hakuna kitu tunasikia shungu kama mtu na revi yako ikuwa anaangalia. Unaangalia. Afadhali kunitoa wai baadaye kurevi. I'm sorry, I'm very very sorry madam. Marisasi na si marisasi kidogo. Na limu mpaka kwa wakati mwingine hata pumbi alifunika mimi. Akanifunika pumbi akanifunika, si wanafikiria kama mimi iko na mwili hata kidogo.
He urges the government to intensify efforts to mitigate the devastation caused by relentless banditry.
Wajane wengi sana hapa ambao wangetosha kusaidiwa tu, wale ambao waathirika yani mabanda sawa waliathirika, na si kuathirika kwa sababu ya kwenda kutafuta vita, walifika watu ndani mali yao. Sababu unajua sasa hii mali hawezi kuja kushughuliwa tu na wanaume kwa wanaangalia.
Serikali tumejaribu kuziba mianya kwa sababu huwa inasemekana nyingi huwa zinatoka nje ya nchi yetu.
Thomas and other leaders stress the urgency of disarming civilians and initiating developmental programs for the youth. During the amnesty period, more than 300 guns were surrendered.
Pokot, ikuwe ni Waturkana, ikuwe ni Wasaburu, zote hizi communities tatu zote ziko na bunduki. Na bunduki nyingi zile wako nazo ni bunduki haramu. Zile ambazo sisi kama serikali hatujui wako na bunduki aina gani, hatujui wako na bunduki ngapi, hatujui wako na risasi ngapi, lakini ile ukweli ni kwamba watu wako na bunduki.
Mambo ya serikali na shomo sasa hakuna maana.
Several measures, including deployment of elite security forces known as Wajakoya, feared for their thorough investigations and bandit interception tactics, and the formation of peace committees have proven effective. Despite these efforts, insecurity looms, casting a shadow over development and prosperity. Hassan advocates for the creation of additional climate-resilient model farms like the one in Kambiamoto, Nakuru, to generate employment and produce substantial quantities of pasture for pastoralists.
We don't need to bring new development. We need to build what people know. People know livestock keeping. That's their main economy. And it is good for the government to now invest in further production at scale.
Kwa maziwa inaongezeka haraka ya inaongezeka haraka.
Well, the grass itself, coming all the way from China, is called jinkao, and the farm as well is called jinkao, as you have had. And so let's speak to some of the workers that actually work here, so they can also tell us their experience. I mean, you do not come to a farm and not speak to the people who handle the farm.
Tuko na silage, tuko na bauda, pellets, chakula ya kuku, tunalisha all the animals, mbuzi, wanakula vizuri sana.
Can say make a difference in our lives. Tumeimprove manyumba zetu, watoto naweza kusoma, tunaweza lisha jamii.
Pia mimi ni mfanyikazi hapa. Nimefanya for long but imenisaidia hii kazi sana.
The Chinese jinkao grass cultivated on 1 acre can adequately feed 20 cows. Resembling sugarcane rather than the local napier grass, its softer leaves reach maturity for harvesting in just 3 months. The Kenya Agriculture and Livestock Research Organization says that only 10% of farming is devoted to fodder cultivation in Kenya, leading to a fodder shortage.
Naona hii chungao ndio itakuwa jawabu ya ile conflicts ya kila wakati, kwa sababu hii haita si kitu yenye ni expensive sana, mtu ataweza koza kupanda na watakuwa napigania pale pamoja na wanajua kuna penye hii kitu inauzwa. Hii itamaliza hiyo konfi.
In search of lasting peace, religion too has played a huge role.
Hapo awali tulikuwa tunakaa vizuri na wenzetu Turkana. Tulikuwa tunashirikiana katika mikutano ya crusade conferences. Tulikuwa tunasoma hata pamoja, lakini all of a sudden shetani akainuka.
Katika ile njia ya kuwaleta pamoja, ilileta watu walitasamana na waliona ya kwamba hala, kumbe watu tu wote ni wazuri. Kwa hivyo kukawa na ile mazungumzo.
As this family invites me to their home for a dance, and as the students proceed to school, and as these women are fishing to put food on their table, the questions linger. Will peace hold? When will government bring us better roads, hospitals, schools, banks, and all that is about development? It should be documented that for the 6 days I have been here, I have only seen one single means of public transport, a Nissan Matatu. Like in The Playwright by Samuel Beckett, the North Rift is asking, are we waiting for Godot?
Oh, it is beautiful to see just how much life and hope these kids have. And while you might want to ask yourself just why peace is important, just why these cases of insecurity should indeed be a game of the past, well, the answer is clear. Of course, this generation is dependent on the peace and security of this place. My name is Linda Alela, reporting all the way from Kageri in Baringo North. Baba, naomba nitengwe nawe milele. Baba, naomba nitengwe.